subscribe button and also hit that like button. And if you enjoyed today's video, also feel free to leave a comment down below of your thoughts. Starting with the NFC East, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. This team is stacked, and with so much talent, tough decisions had to be made. Our surprising cut from the Eagles this year is CJ Uzomah. Despite being the most experienced tight end the Eagles had on the roster at the beginning of the camp, the emergence of younger talent such as Grant, Dallas Goedert, and EJ Jenkins made him expendable, especially with the decline CJ showed as a pass catcher as well as being a non-factor in terms of blocking. Next up on our list is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. With high expectations every year, roster spots are consistently up for grabs. The player that could be a shocking cut for this team this year is Peyton Hendershot. Recovering from off-season surgery and minimal injuries during the preseason have led to a low margin of error on the part of Peyton and opened the door for an impressive, under-the-radar player in John Stevens Jr. to maximize his opportunity to be enough to make Peyton expendable, which would be a tough decision by the coaching staff after having Peyton develop with this team over the past 2 seasons. Alright, moving on to the New York Giants. A team stuck in a self-inflicted rebuild often makes some peculiar choices for roster cuts. Our pick for the most surprising cut for this team is Isaiah Hodgins. A crowded wide receiver position group, a less than stellar preseason performance, and being outplayed by fellow veteran receiver Allen Robinson and minimal potential as a special teams player leaves not much room on the roster for this veteran. And finally, the Washington Commanders. In a division as competitive as the NFC East, even a small slip can cost you your job. The Commanders made headlines this week with the decision to trade Jahan Dotson. The reason for this cut was his inability to minimize drops in the passing game over the past 2 seasons, the emergence of Luke McCaffrey as a dependable player, and failure to emerge as a solid number 2 option for his offense. In totality, equally contributed to the Commanders pushing Dotson out the door into an Eagles uniform. Okay, now let's shift our attention to the NFC North, starting with the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are known for developing talent, but even they have to make tough cuts. Our pick for the surprise cut is Robert Rochelle. With the likelihood that the Packers will only carry 5 to 6 corners into week 1 of the season, this will unfortunately leave Robert as the odd man out, as much of the starting and backup depth is firmly established. Youth is also a factor with the Packers team. This decision will ultimately come down to choosing between 7th-round pick Kalen King and Robert, with the former being a cheaper option to add to the roster as well as a likely practice squad candidate that can provide the same impact as Robert for this team. These factors ultimately leave Robert as the odd man out, and these are the reasons why I believe he will be cut. Next up on our list is the Chicago Bears. With a lot of new faces on this team, somebody had to go. The surprise cut, Colin Johnson. Despite being a highly efficient and productive player during the Hall of Fame preseason game, his production significantly tailed off over the next 2 games. This allowed players like Dante Bettis to get a leg up on him in an already crowded wide receiver room. His skill set still is to be respected, but probably won't be needed unless injuries start to pile up with this team. Colin will likely end up on someone's practice squad team, if not the Bears, for the upcoming season. Now let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. This team has its sights set on the playoffs and not come in last place in a pretty difficult division this season. But to get there, some real decisions have to be made. The most surprising cut that may happen, Trent Sherfield. The reason why I believe he will be cut is that he had a lackluster preseason performance that included a number of drop passes that nearly equaled the amount of catches Trent had, along with the emergence of Jalen Naylor as the number 3 option, Brandon Powell solidifying return duties, and the potential show by Tristan Jackson have made this veteran expendable despite him signing a 2-year deal just this offseason. Okay, finally we have the Detroit Lions. This team has a lot of talent within their depth, but that doesn't mean everybody gets to stay. Our pick for the surprising cut is Jake Fromm. Despite being added as an additional camp body for this Lions offense after Hendon Hooker underwent concussion protocol, Jake made the absolute most of his opportunity, going 6 of 8 for 89 yards passing. His dismissal from this team won't be for a lack of contributions, but just a sad reality of circumstances. Solid depth at QB sealed his fate, but he probably will be brought back on the Lions practice squad as an insurance policy just in case the injury bug strikes this team. Okay, moving on, heading south to the NFC South, let's start with the Atlanta Falcons. A team in a major transition to playoff contenders. They made some surprising moves, but how shocking will it be when they cut Chris Blair? The reason for his cut is a new scheme and a crowded wide receiver position group that includes the likes of Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Casey Washington, and Cordell Hodge will unfortunately leave Chris out of the mix. He had an outstanding preseason, tied for third amongst all receivers in receiving yards. He will likely be sought after free agent roster signing or definitely early practice squad signing, but he won't be on the market for long. Next we have the New Orlean Saints. Known for their strong culture, it's always surprising when key players let go. A move that would be the biggest shocker? Cutting Jamal Williams. Bringing in $4 million per year on a 3-year deal to get you some really good production from a veteran running back. That's not what the Saints got last season from Williams. After only gaining 306 yards rushing on 2.9 yards per carry, Williams was already coming into the season on shaky grounds as the primary backup to Alvin Kamara, and the emergence of younger running backs may force the Saints to move on from him to see they're seeing similar production from those younger players. Also, the return of Kendre Miller from injury could surely be another reason to move on from Jamal. Now let's move on over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that has been at the top of the NFC South for the last couple years, but even they aren't immune to shocking roster moves. The most surprising cut will probably be Sterling Shepard. An injury-riddled camp from Sterling and the emergence of players like Trey Palmer, Cody Thompson, and the late charge from Cameron Johnson to close out the top 6 wide receiver spots made this decision inevitable for Tampa Bay. So much needed recovery time may be good for Shepard to get back into form and may be a strong contributor for a team later on this season. And to wrap up the NFC South, we have the Carolina Panthers, a team looking to be on the rise, but some players just didn't fit the new direction. The surprise cut? Ihmir Smith. New leadership sometimes likes to come in and bring players that can quickly grasp the team's offense or players that are reliable. Unfortunately for Ihmir, the Panthers improved their wide receiver room from a year ago with players like Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Jonathan Mingo, Deontay Johnson, and Terrence Marshall Jr. The Panthers may carry 6 receivers into the season opener. If they do, veteran David Moore's familiarity and performance throughout the preseason will be the reason he makes it onto this roster over the deep threat that is Ihmir. Ihmir will likely be a candidate for the practice squad roster for somebody's team. Now let's head to the NFC West, starting with the San Francisco 49ers, a team loaded with talent. Even they have to make tough calls sometimes, one of which will probably be cutting or trading Elijah Mitchell this season. Heading into his final year of his rookie contract, Elijah hasn't been available to showcase his skill set during this preseason due to injury, leading to the door being open for backups Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerrero to showcase why they should be the primary backup to Christian McCaffrey. They definitely didn't waste that opportunity. Whether the 49ers decide to cut or trade Elijah is truly in the air, but one thing is certain. The needs of the team are evolving and he likely won't be a part of this team in the future. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks. Known for their gritty style, they still have to make some tough choices. The biggest shocker? Cutting PJ Walker. The only true reason this cut would be shocking is because the teams are allowed to keep 3 QBs on the roster for emergencies. And Seattle will probably not keep PJ as a backup to Geno Smith and Sam Howell because he was shockingly put up a overall poor preseason performance, going 8 for 18, having a 44% completion rate, and only passing for 98 yards. That's not expected of a 7-year NFL veteran with as much playing experience as he does. Seattle will be more than likely either look for better QB options in free agency or go into the season with Sam Howell as the only backup. Now let's move over to the Los Angeles Rams, a team that has been up and down in recent years, but this cut would definitely be sad for some fans. The surprise cut? Xavier Smith. A crowded wide receiver position group that includes the likes of Cooper Kupp, Luka Nakua, DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Johnson, and Jordan Whittington will unfortunately leave Xavier out of the mix. He had an outstanding preseason as a receiver and kick returner. He will likely be sought after free agent roster signing or definitely an early practice squad signing, but he won't be on the market for long based on his performance this past preseason. And finally, the Arizona Cardinals, a team in transition, but even they will be making some shocking moves at the end of this preseason, one of which is be cutting Xavier Weaver. Xavier unfortunately be another victim of the numbers game that comes with filling out a roster, but if it wasn't for this limit, he would definitely make this team opening day roster based off his consistent performance as a pass catcher and kick returner. Xavier won't be without a team for too long after being cut because he has earned himself a spot on somebody's roster this season or definitely a practice squad opportunity. Switching over to the AFC East, let's start with the Buffalo Bills, a team with Super Bowl aspirations, but still some tough decisions need to be made, one of which will be including cutting KJ Hamler. A deep roster at his position made this a tough but necessary move. KJ got the opportunity to showcase how versatile he is by filling in at running back for some of the team's injured players, played decently as a receiver, and showed himself to be a capable returner for a team, but all in all, depth at those positions leave him as the odd man out. He will more than likely catch on with a team later on in the season that could be lacking some reliable wide receiver help. Next up, the Miami Dolphins, a team on the rise with a lot of expectations headed into the season, but even they will have to make some difficult cuts. Most surprising, Mike White. Despite showing that he can compete with Skylar Thompson for the coveted backup job behind Tua, he couldn't quite string together great performances as a 5-year veteran. He could possibly be brought back as a practice squad player since he is familiar with the system the Dolphins are implementing. Now let's talk about the New England Patriots. Known for their next man up mentality, they rarely hesitate when making bold moves, and this move won't be any different. The player who won't make the roster this year or make the cut this year is Bailey Zappi. The team's focus on versatility and talented players means this QB won't fit into their plans. Bailey has been in the league for a long time, which means he's a known commodity throughout the league. He needed to show the Patriots a certain level of improvement in order to ward off the fast improvements Joe Milton III has made over this offseason, with Jacoby Brissett set to lead his team at least through the beginning of the season, and an additional veteran presence isn't needed. And Drake May is set to be the heir to the Patriots franchise in the very new future, which leads to Bailey being the odd man out. And finally, in the AFC East, we have the New York Jets. With a new fresh outlook on this season after getting Aaron Rodgers back from his injury last season, the Jets have been making big moves, but this cut will catch some fans off guard. The surprise? Leonard Taylor. With a focus on keeping only 4 defensive tackles active for the season, the Jets will be forced to part ways with players despite showing immense flashes of being a good disruptive player for this defense. The defensive tackle is one of the many groups the Jets are set from starter to backups. Leonard will more than likely be a quick practice squad addition after clearing waivers. Now we need to head on up to the hard-hitting AFC North, starting with the Baltimore Ravens, a team that prides itself on defense and toughness. This year, though, they would make a surprising cut by releasing veteran Russell Gage. An influx of young talent on offense and injuries throughout the preseason made this seasoned vet the odd man out. Russell will likely end up on some team's practice squad and eventually an active roster at some point during the season. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that was never afraid to make a tough decision. This year's shocking roster move will be Michael Pruitt. With a focus on keeping tight ends that are very capable pass catchers and overall blockers, this player's roster spot would normally be guaranteed, especially in the Arthur Smith-led offense. Unfortunately, the Steelers will need to keep room available to make an upgrade in the wide receiver room. Michael will have to be left off this roster because there are 3 players in front of him on the depth chart that are better overall players than him or aren't as versatile. He will more than likely end up on the practice squad after being cut. Now let's get into the Cincinnati Bengals. Coming off back-to-back playoff run expectations, this team is loaded with talent, but that won't stop them from making this surprise cut. Logan Woodside. The only true reason this cut would be shocking is because teams are allowed to keep 3 QBs on the roster for emergencies, and Seattle will probably not keep Logan as a backup to Joe Burrow and Jake Browning, even with Joe's injury history. He has shockingly put up an overall decent preseason performance, going 16 for 21, completing 76% of his passes, and throwing for 98 yards. The Bengals will more than likely not look for better QB options in free agency and probably use the available spot to find a player that can help them defensively. And finally, in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns. This team has made a lot of noise in recent years, but one move that will catch everyone by surprise will be the cutting of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. A clear focus on veteran-led offense and consistent play from those veteran QBs ahead of Dorian will unfortunately lead to this tough decision that will keep him off this roster to start the season. Dorian has surely improved this offseason, but not enough to supplant veterans Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley. He will likely end up on this year's practice squad, where he will have the opportunity to continue to develop after having an up and down season last year. Now making our way to the AFC South, we're going to start with the Tennessee Titans, a team known for its physical play. Even they have to make some tough calls. The most surprising cut they'll probably make this offseason is Malik Willis. An emphasis on consistent QB play from a team that would need to have a low margin of error if they plan on making the playoffs this season is a high priority, and at this stage of Malik's career, he has a lot of growing to do in his game, even though he showed great strides over these past preseason games. Unfortunately, it was not enough to overtake Will Levis nor Mason Rudolph for a spot on the depth chart, which will lead the Titans to part ways with this veteran. He will possibly be a target for trades for someone looking for a young QB talent to develop, but if not traded, he'll be a perfect candidate for the practice squad. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts. With a lot of changes surrounding this team, the Colts were bound to make some surprising moves at the end of this preseason. One of the bigger shockers will probably be them cutting Ronnie Harrison Jr. A focus on youth and the development of rookies like Jalen Carlos at linebacker made Ronnie expendable. Ronnie may catch on to a team as a practice squad and make his way to an active roster in case of emergency like injuries, just like he did last season for the Colts, and show he does belong on an NFL roster this season. Now to the Houston Texans, a team that's fully prepared to build on last season's success with star QB CJ Stroud, but that didn't make this cut any less surprising. The Texans will probably decide to move on from veteran wide receiver Noah Brown. Despite being a reliable player for the Texans last season, as they went through a string of injuries at the wide receiver position, the Texans retooled significantly over this offseason, and Noah being hampered this preseason with a shoulder injury opened the door for other players to overtake his position in the offense. The likelihood that Texans won't carry more than 6 receivers on his roster, Noah will likely be cut, but could he be signed to the practice squad or make his way onto the active roster for a number of teams? We shall see. And finally, the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that is definitely on the rise, but even they would have to make some tough choices at the end of this preseason. One of which would be the cutting of wide receiver Denzel Mims. The only reason this cut is a surprise is because Denzel didn't last long with the team after signing with the Jags this summer after being released by the Steelers. This player didn't make it through training camp, which is sad because he has a lot of potential, but continues to fail to find a team that fits him. It's unclear how many more opportunities this relatively young player will get in the league, but we shall see. Lastly, let's head on down to the AFC West, starting with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. This team is loaded with talent, but even they will have to make some surprising cuts this season by releasing Kadarius Toney. Leading back to last season, Toney has slowly declined in a number of areas that made him a very impactful player for this Chiefs team, from inconsistent hands to not being impactful on special teams. Toney's inconsistent performances have opened the door for the Chiefs to focus on grooming young talent, which will make Toney expendable. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos. After a disappointing season, the Broncos have been making big changes. one of which would be the shocking decision to eventually cut Samaje Perine. A focus on revamping this roster and Samaje's inability to separate himself from other backs like Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams will lead him to be looked at as an expendable player, on top of the fact that the Broncos could save $3 million by this unexpected cut. At the age of 29, Samaje is on the back nine of his career and may not fit with this current regime's timeline. He will most likely be picked up by a more veteran-led team through free agency at some point this season. Now on to the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that will always be full of surprises, but this cut will catch a small group of fans off guard. The Raiders will likely decide to move on from Nathan Peterman at some point during this cutting season. A disappointing camp and being unable to outplay rookie Carter Bradley, who also might not make the active roster, are the sole reason this will be a shocking cut, because Nathan should have improved at some capacity this offseason after showing signs of being a better QB than he has shown in the past. He was also cut early this preseason by the Saints. And finally, the Los Angeles Chargers, a team with high hopes, but even they have to make some difficult decisions. The most surprising one would probably be cutting Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice. A deeper roster at this position made this a tough but necessary move. Brendan hasn't gotten the opportunity to showcase how versatile he is as a receiver for this team, but all in all, depth at this position leave him as the odd man out. He will more than likely catch on with a team as a practice squad player this season. They could be lacking some reliable wide receiver help. So there you have it, folks. One surprising cut for every NFL team during this year's training camp. Whether it's a veteran getting ousted by a rookie or a cap casualty that no one saw coming. These moves remind us just how brutal the business of football can be. But hey, that's what makes the NFL so exciting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can never miss one of any of my future videos. Let us know in the comments which cut surprised you the most, or if there's a player you think deserved another shot. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.